Smile. You're on camera.
Christmas present. No, dude.
And then, can I have a last name just for the receipt?
A last name?
Yeah.
Doe.
Okay.
D-O-E.
DOE.
First name.
Okay, so if somebody calls dispatch and says, we see suspicious people with the camera, what is dispatch going to tell them? We'll send somebody right out.
Officer out to talk to them, find out what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You
like,
have to respond to every call.
What's that?
Do you have to respond to every call?
Do I have to respond to it?
No, the department.
couldn't dispatch do
Typically, yeah. I mean, there are some calls that the dispatchers will have discretion on it.
So could you use your
Or
discretion?
they may be able to clear the call through dispatch with giving
Perfect.
whatever information
How about
they need.
asking a question? Are they standing on a sidewalk other than filming?
right. Here's why I ask. I'm trying to train dispatch everywhere, right? Because I do a little dispatch myself last night for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So I am trying to educate some dispatch, like all throughout everywhere, to educate them that if somebody calls, and even though it might look a little suspicious or whatever, as long as that person isn't doing nothing illegal, do we really need to waste resources and send an officer out? You know, just because they, like, let's say a man is riding a bicycle and he's like, I don't know, maybe he's just wearing a tutu or something. It's weird. Somebody don't like it, and they're like, I don't like the guy. He looks suspicious,
Right.
but he's not doing anything illegal. So now we got to send an officer and risk the man's life or risk.
Well, we also have to look at, if, as you said, he's out walking around in a tutu.
Yeah.
Is there some other thing that we need to look at? Is he on, and if under the influence of something? Does he have some kind
Mental
of
instability.
mental instability we need to check out? Maybe he needs help. Not everything's criminal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to help people.
That's a good attitude. Yeah, I mean, but as long as you don't go into it with, treating everyone like a criminal just
Right.
because somebody didn't like how they looked or.
No, we understand everybody's not a criminal.
Cool.
And you know what's, I think that that might be good in a sense, but that can be overused because sometimes, let's say an officer gets out there, and you know how people are sometimes defiant. They're like, you know what, man, I'm not doing anything illegal, so you just back off.
Sure.
And the officer's like, well, wait a minute.
Right.
You know, I have the right to ask you, do you need medical attention? Oh, you're detained because we got a call on you. So now we're gonna call medical detention. We're gonna let them determine if you need medical help now. When in reality, the guy's just pissed off because like, you know what, man, I'm not doing nothing illegal. Get the hell away from me. I didn't make the call. You tell dispatch to call the person back and say the guy did nothing wrong.
Can I bring a personal situation into it and just kind of explain to you, and say that, I get calls on me all the time because I live in my van, and I'm homeless due to a disability, and that's,
Okay.
that's something that people kind of look down on in society, and
Sure.
so unfortunately, I get called on all the time, and I think that a lot of times, especially, I'm okay with them coming by and, making sure, I'm not doing anything, but there's no really any reason to engage and, treat me like, that there needs to be an investigation because I look different.
Right.
That's kind of, I think, where he's getting at. It's,
Yeah.
Right.
It's sort
But
of
then we can get into there's local municipal codes and different local laws that you could be violating that I don't know about.
just
It
passing
just
through.
depends.
Let's just say I was passing through, stopping and eating lunch, and still I get called for a suspicious vehicle. And
Yeah.
how would you treat that, personally, if you were on patrol?
Well, I would go to the call and look and maybe contact you and say how things going. We have a conversation and everything's fine.
Well, you wouldn't use
Move
your
on.
discretion to kind of, okay, I mean, yeah.
Would you try to ID him?
That's
Try
my
to
point.
ID him?
That's what I was going
Would you ask
It would
for-
depend. It would depend. There's
Depend on
lots
what?
of, who knows, there's a lot of variables in every call. You just never know.
So basically, yeah, you would ID him.
It's,
Let's just say
Who knows?
you don't get a lot of details when you're going to
I
a
don't,
call. So,
I don't
mean,
attempt to ID everybody that I come across. I
Pick
haven't
and
asked
choose.
anybody here for identification.
You're not getting it from me, Buster.
Right.
I heard a statistic recently where it said 80% of the complaints on officers, I forgot what county it is or what county or city, but 80% of the complaints are going towards 20% of the officers. Have you heard that similar statistic?
haven't heard it as far as law enforcement. I've heard it in like the general public.
No, I meant towards law enforcement.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Okay, so there was
It
a
makes sense though.
there was a department. So what I would like to see is somehow finding a way to empower more the 80% of the good officers to weed out the 20%. If that is pretty accurate or whatever.
If that is accurate, I would agree with you.
Yeah, so that's kind of what, and in reality, the reason why I spoke about the situation as far as like calls and dispatch and sending people out to calls that are not, let's train these dispatchers as well. Like,
Because
wait a
that
minute,
discretion can be abused.
yeah, and
Sure.
exactly, and when that, let's say that 20%, one of the bad officers goes to that call and abuses their power and stuff like that, then it just really, the whole department will lose credibility and trust,
Sure.
in the community and stuff like that. So that's kind of, I'm trying to find some common ground. And I will say this, man, like, you have a really good attitude, and there's an officer in Bakersfield, shout out to Ferguson. He's a really good dude.
Andrew Ferguson?
I think that's his name. He's like a senior
Yeah.
officer. Yeah,
He's a
man,
good guy.
if you can make that guy like chief or something over here
Yeah.
somewhere, man, let's do that.
I
Because
know
that
him.
guy has a really good attitude,
He's a good guy.
and I've seen him out there, and he's been like pretty cordial to me and a lot of different people.
Tall
That,
white guy too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of, I believe, what we need out there: people with good attitudes, and
Yeah.
and we should get rid of qualified immunity. Let me throw that in there: get rid of qualified immunity as well. But
I think if you're expecting, your community to see something, say something, you should also expect that within the department. Right?
yeah, exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
I agree with you.
No more cover-ups and no more sweeping under the rug.
And
And
blue line of silence and all that.
let's make that SB
Do you support the
14,
blue stripe?
Do I support the blue stripe? What
the blue line flag.
Blue line.
Yeah.
Do you rock that on your vehicle?
Oh, come
Let
on.
me-
My vehicle?
Yeah, on your vehicles, the patrol vehicles in here.
No.
Do our patrol vehicles in your department now? It's your department, right? Do they have the blue line flag on their vehicles?
Not that I can think of.
There is a disconnect between the public and law enforcement because of those 20%, maybe 20% bad officers, and we all know that there's officers out there that do bad things. That there is a disconnect between law enforcement and the public, the general public. And not only that, a lot of veterans are pissed off about that flag too. We get that on our channels, a lot of comments.
I've never heard that.
So if you knew, now that you know, now you heard it, maybe it's something you might want to think about, and maybe even eliminating that discomfort or whatever between the law enforcement and the people, because in reality, man, you guys are people too.
Sure.
And there's good and bad in everything, and
Right.
we pay you guys, and we expect to be treated properly. When even if I'm walking and rocking and rolling with a pink tutu, you know what I mean? As long as I got shorts on, whatever,
Well,
it might be weird to somebody, but it's not illegal.
We all expect that, no matter whether I'm in this uniform or not. We expect to treat people properly.
Right. That's
So
true.
it's just
But if you guys deserve qualified
things
immunity,
we learned when we were little kids, right?
Yeah.
So you guys can't be scared to police, and that's why you deserve qualified immunity. Otherwise, we'd be scared to
We
Yeah.
do have a job to do.
And can you imagine if families, like, just say the public, right? And say, well, this kid over here from the Lopez family did something wrong, but we got to take it. The family says, wait a minute, we're going to do an internal investigation on little
Right.
Johnny Rotten over here. We know he's a bad kid, but we're going to do an internal investigation. That doesn't work, right? Like, it doesn't, like,
Sometimes.
little Johnny's it might, but that's not how it is for the public. That's how it is for police.
Sometimes, again, we're talking about discretion. There's sometimes where kids do something wrong, and we're going to let the family handle it.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
They know the kid better than we do.
yeah, man. Well,
But in a business, you don't, there's discipline.
Well, obviously, there's laws and regulations we
Yeah.
have to follow, and if it's a case that we have to step in, then we have to. There's no wiggle room about that. But if it's something minor that a kid did, or maybe it's just a bad decision, and the family can correct it.
Right. Maybe, you know what? Maybe that was a bad example. Maybe this kid is 33 years old already. You know what I mean? We're gonna do an internal investigation because he doesn't want to move out of the house, and we know he's a bad kid, a bad dude. But yeah, so that changed
Well, the
fast.
difference is with the family, there's no oversight, right?
Right.
With us, there's always people looking at what we're
Oh
doing.
man, there's. I tell you
Paying
what,
attention.
man.
Here we are,
Even
paying
more.
attention to what we're doing.
Yeah, it's gonna-
Because of guys like that, because of guys like these guys, and myself.
These guys.
we go out and record, and we highlight sometimes the bad things, and you know, and sometimes like more than ever before, you know, I would say highlighting what is really wrong in the system.
Right.
And if there's really no complete oversight, internal investigations, I mean, and in reality, man, if you really think about it, qualified immunity came into effect in 1967, 3 years after the Jim Crow laws were repealed. And this guy was convicted on because he went into an all-white restaurant, and he took it to the Supreme Court in 67, and he said, well, the judge is like, well, the officer and the judge, the state judge that convicted you, how are they supposed to know the law? Like, they just did it in good faith, right? They did their job in good faith.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, you know what, man, we can't expect all law enforcement officers to know the law. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give qualified immunity throughout the nation. And
well, I think for me, the qualified immunity and what you're talking about with good faith is officers act on the information they have at that time. As we all know, things with law enforcement, laws in general, they're dynamic, they're changing all the time. Mm-hmm. So if an officer is acting on information that had changed, then you have that good faith.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something about that without interrupting?
But we have to look at, I mean, did it change 3 years ago or now?
Right.
That's not good faith, right?
Yeah, I mean, what if, say, I protected myself against an unlawful arrest and and did it in good faith. I don't think society would look at that the same as, an officer saying, well, I killed him on accident. It was in good faith. And so I was scared for my life. So that's
why we have courts.
Yeah, but the courts are obviously
and
not on our side.
Yeah, and the problem with that is then
Whose side?
we have lawyers taking advantage
on
of
your
people,
side,
right? Because we don't know the laws that much. The schools that don't educate the kids in reality laws, and really officers. Look at, and this might be a bad example, but it seems to me like a bunch of high school students are out babysitting as police officers the nation. Mm-hmm. But if somebody screws up, they got to hire somebody who's actually gone to law school, spent a lot of years in college, and not, you got to pay this person a lot of money who supposedly knows the laws, but this lawyer might even know sometimes that this officer can get off with qualified immunity, right? But he still takes the money anyway. We see this in what we do today. We see this going on, and it's a system that is so broken. The lawyers are empowered. The police.
The judges aren't.
I wouldn't argue that
Judges have absolute immunity.
That's the best to say.
Oh.
Police don't know what their job is when they take an oath.
No, you know what?
That's the most important question you ask them all.
Can you recite your oath to me?
which oath?
The
oath that you swore to as a police officer?
when you took it.
To support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, man. Finally, dude. Finally. That's real.
There's a couple oaths.
You know that you're the first out of a lot that did it?
Yeah, I mean,
You're the first.
well, I've done it how many times?
How many times have
Because as
you?
we've talked about with
You
the
know how
blue
many
flag and the
officers
veterans,
I have
I'm also a
asked?
veteran and we use the same oath.
Thank you for
You know how
serving,
many
man.
officers I've asked that question and not one could answer that question but you.
Right.
Well, I think, I can't speak for them, but there's confusion because there is a law enforcement oath that's different and it's like
Really
2
long.
pages long. So to try and recite that is almost impossible unless you're in the academy where they tell you to recite it over and over and over.
I believe they know exactly most of them know exactly which one I'm talking about because where I'm from, they watch my channel and they know which one I'm talking about, but they throw that in there just to like which one.
Right.
But
you
I
can't
answered
speak
it.
for them.
You answered it, even though you said that.
Yeah.
So I got nothing to say with that.
That's why I asked, which one are we talking about?
And that police oath, the long one that you're talking about, is that one nationwide or is that per department? Oh, California. Okay.
It's California.
Yeah. I have a thumbnail.